In this lesson, we will use the SSH utility, also known as Secure Shell, to assess organizational security. We are in the SSH portion of the video series. This lesson is part of a video series that prepares you for the hands-on portion of the CompTIA Security Plus exam and is designed to give you hands-on experience with the exam. So what is the SSH command? The SSH command is a secure shell protocol used to remotely access and manage systems over an encrypted connection. It is used by system administrators, developers, and IT professionals. It is used whenever secure remote access to a server or device is required. It is executed on a terminal or command line interface from the client system to connect to a remote server. It is used to securely manage and administer systems, transfer files, or execute commands remotely while protecting data for interception. The how is by establishing an encrypted connection using an authentication mechanism such as passwords or SSH keys initiated with the SSH command, the user, @hostname, or IP address. The rest of the how is what this video is all about, so let's get into it. To get started, grab the companion guide from the link in the show notes below. Also, if you like this content, please make sure to subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any new videos. So we're ready to get started. We have our companion guide on the left. We have Ubuntu Linux on the right. I'm going to open up a terminal session. I just did it right from the right click and open in the desktop. You can use Control-Alt-T to get there, or you can search the menu. There's a variety of ways of doing that. I'm going to maximize the screen and also just increase that a little bit so we can have a little bit more real estate. Okay, so the first thing we want to do with SSH, we want to install it. Though I'm going to essentially sudo apt update to get an update of all of the packages that are available. Let's put in the password. And we're going to allow it to get all the updates and give it a moment. Okay, so that took about 10 or 15 seconds. All packages are up to date, as you can see here. So I'm going to clear the screen and then I'm going to go ahead and update the OpenSSH client in both. So it's apt install. I'm going to open SSH, secure shell. We're going to get the client and we're going to do open SSH and do the server as well. So I'm going to do the server, hit enter, and we're going to give that a moment. All the way down in the bottom here, there's a confirmation. I could have thrown the Y flag in the statement, but you can see that here, and we'll go ahead and install that. Okay, that just took a couple of seconds as well. So now that I have everything installed, I'm going to clear, get back on the top, and now we're going to make sure that we can start the service. So I'm going to do sudo systemctl, and we're going to start SSH. And we don't get any confirmation just yet. It just started the service. Now we're going to take a look at the status. So I'm going to go here, and at this point here, let's see what the status looks like. And it said it is up and running, so this is excellent, right? So we have it loaded, we have it active, it's running. And this one here, I want it to be started all the time when I reboot the server. So I'm going to clear here just to bring this back on top. And we're going to do sudo, and in this case here, we're going to type in the enable option, which is this is going to make sure it starts automatically after a reboot. And there it is. It says it's synchronizing the state of the service, and it's adding it up to the service startup script. Okay, so we're all set here. Let's go ahead and do some housekeeping on this side. And once again, we have our Kali Linux box on the side here. And look at our diagram for those who are familiar with it. Our diagram is we're on this network called the private network, PrivNet for short. I'm sitting here at 172.16.1.101. So I'm just going to do a host name just so you can see that. Oh, I have a different IP address. I'm at 102, which is fine. I want to come over to this Kali Linux box, which I'm sure that is the IP address. We didn't have any reboot, so this is fine. So I'm going to come here and we're going to SSH right into it. So I'm going to clear the screen
SSH is the command. We're going to Kali is the username, and it's at a host name or the IP address. So 172.16.1.103. And then this is my first time connecting to this server via SSH. So what the command line is saying is that the authenticity of this host can't be established. This is the first time. This is essentially its fingerprint or ID card. It's a SHA-256. I can examine it. I know it's a server that I want to connect to. I have the IP address. I have the username. It says, do I really want to connect? I'm going to say yes. And at that point, I have to go in. It said it's been added to the known list or known hosts on my file, and I just have to put in the password, and I am in. Now, how do I know I'm in? Well, a couple of ways. One, I came in with this command prompt, and now I have this different command prompt, which means that I'm sitting on the Kali hostname box. So let's do a little bit of things to just make sure that we're really sitting there. For starters, I'm going to type hostname. Yes, I am sitting in the Kali box here. I'm also going to just do an IP adder, right? So let's do IP adder. And I see the IP address of the 172.16.101. If you remember correctly, ours is 172.16.1.102. I'm going to do a quick who am I? I am Kali, the user Kali, which makes sense. And I'm just going to bring the screen up here so we can see this a little bit more on top. I'm going to do a who so we can see who's logged in here. And we see the Kali, the local, and this is the local logged in user. And this is me coming in via SSH on my client here. So I know I'm in there. So I'm going to do another terminal here so we can see some side-by-side comparisons. So this is the Kali side of the house. This is the Ubuntu Debian side of the house. I'm going to make that a little bit bigger so we can see that easier. I'm going to CD to my home directory, and I'll do the same thing on the Ubuntu side. So I'm going to do hostname, and you see I'm on the virtual box here. Let's go ahead and do a release version. Let's do lsb_release a so we can see that, yes, this is Ubuntu version 20.04. This is the focal code name. I can do the same thing on the Kali side as well. I'm going to do lsb release. So let's do a release A, and we see that we're on the Kali. So we do have the connection. We are indeed connected as well. Okay, so for the rest of this exercise, I'm going to be on the Ubuntu side, and I have an SSH client connection on the Kali side. There's no need for me to actually go into the Kali box anymore because I'm pulling that environment into this terminal session. So I'll go and toggle from time to time. I can tell I'm on the Kali side because I have this orange underbar, and it also tells me I'm Kali at Kali, in other words, user at hostname, and I'm also me, F. Marin, at hostname as well. So I know where I am in terms of field position or server position, because we could be all over the network. I could be here at Kali Linux, I could be in Ubuntu, I could be logged into pfSense. Depending on your environment, you could be in a variety of places. Okay, so let's do some work under an SSH client, but before we get there, we'll hit the housekeeping, and we're going to touch a file on the Ubuntu side. So I'm just going to touch a file here and create a file called touch ubuntu.txt. And there's nothing in that file, right? So I'm going to just cat that file real quickly. Good. There we go. I have a hello world in there. Let's just take a look at that. I may have several of them here. So I'm going to actually remove it. Let's get rid of this Ubuntu. So if you remember in our Linux cheat sheet, I'm going to and just get rid of that, and it's gone. So I'm going to clear. I want to touch and create that clean, and then cat and see what happens. It should be a clean file. Okay, great. So now I have a file here that's on my Ubuntu side, and now I want to get it over to the Kali side. Now on the Kali side, let's just see before we get in there, do a present working directory. We don't have anything sitting in the Kali box, right? It's pretty quiet. There isn't anything there. We know for sure. I'm going to clear. I come back on the Ubuntu side,
and we're going to copy this file over to the Kali box. So I'm just going to get this command here. We can type it, but for expediency purposes, I'm going to just use SCP, it's secure copy, this Ubuntu file, and we're going to send it over to the Kali Linux, and we're going to go to the home directory. So once again, over here, there's nothing sitting here. I come back to the Ubuntu side. It's going to ask me for the password. I give it the password, I get verification, I come back on the Kali side, and the Ubuntu is in. So we see it wasn't there before, now it is. I'm going to cat that file, and let's see what's on the Kali side, and there isn't anything in that file. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that again, but slightly differently. So now I'm going to echo, I'm going to add a little bit of information into this Ubuntu file. So let's go to cat ubuntu.txt. There isn't anything there. So we're going to echo some content into that. So I come here, and let's just do a cat again, and we have hello world. Now this is sitting on the Ubuntu side, but not on the Kali side, right? Because it wasn't synced. So I can do a couple of things. I can just recopy this over again, right? So let's go ahead, and I'm going to SCP that, secure copy. I have to put the password in. It copied the file over, and let's see if it made a change. And yes, it did. So here I am sitting on the terminal box that I have control over. And as you can see, this could be a force for good, or if this is a remote connection, this could be a problem if we didn't authorize this. So this is how I can securely copy files to the server. But let's do this in a synchronized fashion. We're going to use rsync to move things over a little bit better. So here I am. I'm going to clear. I am on the Kali side, and this is why when we did the Linux course or the Linux cheat sheet, knowing position is important. Not just directory position, like I'm at the home directory of the Kali, but what server I'm in also, because you could be in an environment where you're managing multiple servers. So I'm going to clear the screen. I know this is the Kali terminal. I'm going to come over into the Ubuntu terminal. I'm going to clear present working directory. I'm in the home directory of the Ubuntu side, and we're going to just cat that file again, the ubuntu.txt. Okay, it says hello world. I'm going to hello world again and append it. So somewhere along the lines, by the way, as you know, I can do a history of this, right? So I can do a history, take a look at all the different files that we've had here, and I see one of the files that we had is the echo. So this one, 2008, which is a whole bunch of things here. So I can do bang 208, and it's going to bring that command in for me. And I cat the Ubuntu, and now I have hello world 2 times. But it's not on the Ubuntu side, right? Not on the Ubuntu side. So we want to set up a sync, an rsync. An rsync is a remote sync, if you will, that's going to allow us to copy and synchronize files without doing the copy. So I'm going to get this command over into the clipboard, and I move it over into the Ubuntu side, and I'm going to rsync, and it's going to ask me for the password because it's a different host machine, and it says it sent the file. And because we had the verbose side, and I'll make a video on rsync in and of itself, but it's a great way to back up and transfer files. So we did the copy, but we can also use this as a backup tool to a different host or other tools as well. But that said, let's go ahead and see what Ubuntu looks like now, because we know it is, and now we have the double hello world. So rsync is a great way to synchronize machines when you get from one host to another. Or said differently, here I am sitting on the Ubuntu endpoint. I've secure shelled or SSH into the Kali Linux endpoint. I was able to copy a file from Ubuntu to Kali, but I also can keep that file synced if I need to, because it becomes quite easy to do so with the sync command. So I'm going to close out. Here I am on the Kali, and then we're going to just do a verbose version of it to see what that looks like. So when I'm done with that session, I can just Control D. The connection is closed, and now I revert back to my username at host machine
desktop. In other words, I'm at the Ubuntu machine. I can do host name just to make sure, and I see that this is my username, and if I do a who am I, and the command line is a combination of who am I at host. Okay, that's pretty easy. I'm going to clear, and all this is going to be set up for an SSH. So I'm going to SSH again, SSH Kali at 172.16.1.103. Now this time we're going to throw the -v flag so you can see what it looks like in a verbose fashion. So it's going to give us the whole connection if we ever need to troubleshoot our connectivity and or verify. So it goes through the whole aspect of it. And we see some interesting pieces here where we have the SSH ID and information here about keys. So let's go ahead and talk about these keys. So it wants me to put in the password. I am going to put in the password, in this case here, to make that connection. Okay, and then I am in. Once again, I'm back on the Kali side. I have the username and host name. So I can always do a who am I to see the username. I can also do a host name, and I'm Kali at Kali. Okay, username at host name. Okay, that makes perfect sense, and it shows that here. Okay, so we did our troubleshooting. Now, if you notice, I'm going to come back to the Ubuntu side, that I had to put the password in constantly. Now, there's a way that we can authenticate using our public key and private key pair. So the public key, as the name implies, is public. It's always public, and I can share that, and someone can either encrypt data with my public key and I can decrypt it with my private key, which I never share, or I can put a copy of my public key onto the Kali host and I can authenticate or validate it with my private key. So let's go see what key-based authentication looks like. So first and foremost, let's go back onto the Ubuntu side, because I don't want to log in all the time and use my password, or I may want to automate certain things, i.e. when we run the rsync. So I'm going to clear. I'm going to do an SSH. I'm going to generate a key pair. It's going to be keygen, run the T flag, and it's RSA. And it says go ahead, is generating a public-private key pair. And as you know, with PKI, public key infrastructure, they work as a pair. It says enter the file. For the sake of this process here, I'm not going to put in a passphrase. This is a training environment. It asked me to verify it. And it says my public key has been saved in my home directory under SSH ID under RSA pub. Okay, so great. Now I'm going to take this file and copy it over. But before I do that, I just want to make sure that you see this here. So my identification has been saved in this folder, right? Great. It says the private key has been saved in a different folder called the ID RSA, and it's important that you never share your private key. Public keys can be public, private keys are always private. You never share those. Okay, so now I'm going to copy my public key over to the Kali server. How do I do that? I'm going to run this command that you see here. For now, we can disregard this image here for now. We're going to clear and SSH. We're going to copy. As you see the ID, we're going to come over to the Kali, and it's going to 172.16.1.103. And obviously, I need to authenticate against that. It's the Kali password at this point. And it says a key has been added. In other words, we have taken our public key, copied it over to the Kali Linux, then we can authenticate with that key using our private key that is sitting on our Ubuntu box. I know this sounds a little complicated, but this is the whole point of this exercise, why we want to do this. So here I am, I'm back on the Kali side. I can go in and take a look if we need to, but now we're going to clear to get back on top. And now I'm going to just make an SSH connection back to the Kali box again. So I'm going to do SSH Kali. That's the username at 172.16.1.103. And look at that. Without a password, I was able to get into the Kali box because it has a copy of my public key, which I authenticated and validated with my private key. And this is what we do with key-based authentication. This is super helpful to make things easier, especially if we're going to run the rsync command as we did before. So if I need to run the rsync command again, it doesn't have to prompt me for the password anymore. So let's go ahead and get this rsync command into buffer. I'm going to come back on the, actually let me close out of this, Control D. I'm going to be on the Kali side of things, and just like that, because we have our public key, I'm not asked and prompted for my password again. And this is how we can maintain a consistent relationship between the two hosts. I SSH'd from Ubuntu into Kali. I copied my public key into the Kali Linux directory, and then now I can authenticate just simply by connecting using the SSH command. Super helpful, but also can be very dangerous also if you're not aware of this, which is why we're in a cybersecurity class and we're talking about it as well. So once again, this is where the private key is kept. Public key is kept in the SSH directory. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. So I'm on the Ubuntu side. I want to clear. And let's cd.ssh. And I see that I'm in the SSH because if I look at the prompt, or I can do a present working directory, I do an ls, and I see my public key, ISA pub. This is the public key. This is the private key, which we never share with anyone. And the known host is the Kali Linux box. And this is a known host. When we first connected, it said, I didn't know about this host. Do you want to copy the fingerprint? And the answer is yes. We can look at these files if we want to. This is the fingerprint of the Kali Linux host. You can cat and take a look at your public key. This is the public key. This is what that looks like. And just for fun, although we never would share it, this is what my private key will look like. And it says private key over here, i.e. never share that with anybody. Okay, so we're going to do some housekeeping on this side here, bring this up, and honestly, we're in pretty good shape here. So this is why we use the SSH keys. As I mentioned before, it allows you to connect to remote servers without using the passwords. So this is important, and also it helps prevent against brute force attacks if somebody's trying to attack the user account. If they don't have the key pair generated and the secure, it's pretty solid. Okay, the other thing we're going to do here is we're going to look at the connections on the server. So I'm going to go back onto the Kali Linux side, and you saw this when we did the netstat, where we can look at the sessions here. So here we are at the Kali side of things. We're doing a grep. We have to do the sudo, which is what that's all about, to elevate the privileges. And I can see that there's an SSH session. It's established, and it's coming from the Ubuntu machine, the 102. So obviously SSH is on port 22. We see it's a TCP connection, and I also can just do a netstat as well to see what that looks like. So I can just do a netstat on the machine, and I see that the machine is connected here. Again, this is the local address of the Kali Linux, and I see that I have a foreign address, which is the Ubuntu machine at 102, and it has an established connection. Okay, so on the Kali Linux side, I'm going to actually stop the sessions here. So I'm going to come here, and this is a little weird because we're going to sudo, and remember I'm logged into it, so I'm going to sudo systemctl status. Let's do a stop. We're going to a stop SSH. And service has been stopped. We Control D. Everything is clean at this point. We'll exit. There's nothing here. It closed the terminal out altogether. And at this point, I'm in pretty good shape. We have closed out the machine. This we do not need. This is housekeeping from a clerical error side of things. So we have our housekeeping. We closed the service. And as always, let's go ahead and throw up the help command here. So you can do SSH to get a little bit more information about it on how to connect. We just did it very
easy in terms of the username at the host name, but of course you also have the more robust option by using the manual option, the manual page, and you can talk about SSH, and it goes through a long range of options. This is a quick and dirty approach just so you can get familiar with it, practice with it. The part that I would highlight that you practice the most with is working with the key-based authentication, generating keys, copying the public key to a different machine, and authenticating with your private key that stays on your host private machine that you never share. So with that said, this is SSH at a very high level. Hope you enjoyed this. Let's continue with the course, and I'll see you at the next lesson.